So good morning, it's my last full day here in Kenya. I've had an incredible trip over the last 6 weeks, but tomorrow it all comes to an end. But today is a non-running day, so I thought I would talk you through how I've maintained some fitness whilst I've been injured. Talk you through what I've been doing for the last sort of 6 weeks and how maybe you can apply that to your training if you end up getting an injury like I have. But I'm on the way to the gym this morning, no running today. Yesterday we did a nice track workout. It's the first sort of track workout that I've done here, so it was great to get that in before I left. If you want to go see that video, then that was the previous day's vlog. But this morning I'm off to the gym to jump on the cross trainer for an hour and a half. It's not fun, it's not pretty. But you've got to get it done if you want to maintain fitness. So yeah, I'll talk you through some tips and tricks of how to keep up your fitness even if you pick up an injury. So my first tip, and I'd say probably the best piece of advice I could give to injured runners, is to focus on what you can do rather than what you can't do. So obviously when you get the news that you can't run, it's pretty devastating. I was pretty down in the dumps, but when I figured out that I could focus on what I can do, so for example the cross training, the swimming, that really helped give me a new focus. So I'd really recommend speaking to a physio, a professional, to try and discuss things that you can do. Maybe it's going for a walk, maybe like me, it's being able to go on the elliptical, to go on the bike, to get in the swimming pool, but just focus on the things you can do, even if they are very minor, rather than dwelling on the fact that you can't run. And also, focusing on what you can do works wonders for your mental health. As soon as you dwell on what you can't do, the running, you get down in the dumps, as I said, but as soon as you focus on the things that you can do, they become new challenges, new stimulus, and I found that to be really important for my mental health during this past sort of 6-7 week period. That's that out of the way. So my second piece of advice is to transfer your running training over to the cross training. So for example, if you usually would do an hour run on a Monday, that hour run is now going to become an hour on either the elliptical, on the bike, or in the swimming pool. And I've also taken the same sort of principle with my sessions. So for example, a session that I was planning to do in my weekly schedule was 15 by a kilometre before I got injured. But when I got injured, I turned that session into a bike session, which became 15 times 3 minutes on the bike. It gives the body the similar stimulus. If you focus on heart rate, which I've been doing, then you can basically have a very similar training load to what you would have done out there on the run. As I said, it's not as enjoyable as getting out for a run, but you can still maintain quite a high level of fitness if you take your running and turn it to the cross training. Now I'm well aware that with some injuries you're not going to be able to do as much cross training, if any at all, so make sure with all the advice that I give in today's video that you speak to your physio, your professionals, to get their advice. So that's what I've been doing. I've taken all things running and turned it into all things cross training, which has been great fun. So my third piece of advice is to try and maintain a bit of a routine, just like you would with your running. So for me, I've had 3 days of the week that have been a little bit harder in terms of they're the days when I do my sessions, and 4 days have been easy. So I tend to have done a session on a Tuesday, a Thursday and a Saturday, and that's just kept me in a nice routine, kept me disciplined, so that going down to the gym doesn't just become a boring, monotonous task. At least some days there's some variation in my training, and I've just found that's really helped keep me on track, keep motivated and keep disciplined. So my fourth piece of advice is just try to keep it varied. Cross training can be very boring, monotonous, but I've found that if I keep it varied, so for example in the morning I might do a bike, in the evening I'll do an elliptical, the next day I might do a swim. Just keeping it varied keeps it interesting, and I find that's a really good tip for maintaining fitness, is keeping motivated by making sure that you're enjoying yourself by keeping it nice and varied. Whew, sauna time. So my fifth and final tip to maintaining fitness when injured is to focus on doing longer tempo efforts when you're on the cross trainer. I've just found that if you try and do the really short, sharp, high intensity stuff, then one, it's not good for your injury, and two, it's really difficult to get your heart rate up. So some of my favourites have been 4 by 10 minutes,
So 40 minutes of sort of tempo work. If you want to give those a go, they're pretty good for maintaining a good level of fitness. Whew, I'm sweating.
And my sixth and final piece of advice is, if you are really serious about trying to maintain fitness whilst injured, is also try to maintain a healthy, balanced diet. Now, I'm not saying you can't have sweets, chocolates, a couple of beers now and then, but one thing with getting injured is you may have the tendency just to relax everything. So in terms of your normal diet, you just push it aside and you just binge out on cakes, sweets, chocolates, beers, whatever. There's no harm in doing that once in a while, but I think if you want to maintain your fitness over a long period of time, so for me it's been around an 8-week period, I've really benefited from keeping my diet nice and healthy. It helps with the cross training, helps with the recovery, and it also helps with your mental health. If you eat well, you feel good. So yeah, another piece of advice for me would be to try your best to maintain your healthy habits, and with that, a healthy, balanced diet. But that is it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. 6 tips that I use to sort of maintain my fitness over this sort of turbulent period in terms of my training. But I hope you got some good insights from it. And yeah, there'll be another video tomorrow. But until next time, aspire to run, run to inspire, and we'll see you again soon.